ECD Forum, welcoming you all to today's panel discussion on the topic, how to stimulate child development through creative learning at home. Today we have with us Magdalena and Mitol, founder, Natural Born Leaders, and Sonia Kuller, who has been working with children since a very long time and is an education consultant and author with Madhuban Frank Education. So I welcome you all on board.
Hello.
And we are starting with a series of webinars for parents and educators on child development, because our focus area is child development. So my first question to Magdalena and Vitol is, can you outline what creative development is about?
Okay, so before we go to creative development, I think it's very important to paint a bigger picture a little bit, because creative development is one area of many areas of child development. So let us share with you a slide where we can see all the areas of child development. And as you can see, there is more than one. There's actually 8. They may have different names depending on the wording, but in general, it would be this kind of distinction. And if you can see, creative development here is one of many. So we have personal, social, emotional development. We have physical development, which is about body development. We have communication and language, where children learn how to express themselves verbally. Then we have reasoning and problem solving, which is related to early maths, but about reasoning skills. Then we have knowledge and understanding of the world. Children develop their capacity to understand what is going on out there, what is their situation in the world, how the world responds to them. They're trying to figure out how the world works. Then we have creative expression as another area of development, which we're going to focus on today. And then we have literacy and numeracy, specifically, which is about reading, maths,
so numbers,
specifically.
Not only numbers, but maths.
Number recognition and counting. And finally, we have technology and media, which is also about the technology as we know it today, but not necessarily not only about that, also about processing, how things work, how things are created.
Yeah, in general, produced. About technology, not only about high tech, as you know, we might think about it.
It's also about,
in general technology, like how things work.
How things are made.
Yeah,
so we have 8 areas, as you can see, and one of them is creative expression. So in the early years and in the early primary, all these areas for the child to develop healthily, emotionally, mentally, physically, all the areas need to be stimulated and prioritized in the same way, yes? So we need to make sure children have enough opportunities to express themselves and develop in all those areas. But the situation right now, and for the last, I would say 100 years even, is that there's only 3 areas of child development that receive the biggest attention from the educational system. It's about knowledge and understanding of the world. These are prioritized from the early years. So we see that in all the academic learning and memorizing facts and knowledge. Then we see a great focus on developing handwriting, reading skills, and counting and numeracy.
And numbers and numeracy.
And nowadays about using technology, yes?
High tech and media.
So these are those 3 areas that are stimulated the most.
Out of 8.
Yes, out of 8. So 3 is definitely not enough. So for children to develop healthily, they need all of them.
Yeah. So hence the focus of this for this series of webinars, where we want to focus on all areas of child learning and development, not only on those 3 ones. Obviously, we will be talking about the 3 ones that are still, stimulated the most, but we would like to highlight and focus on other areas which are kind of
neglected,
or sometimes even ignored,
or maybe don't receive too much attention. So creative expression is one of them.
Creative expression is today.
Before we dive deeper, we would like to involve you a little bit, the audience. If you could share with us, maybe type in the comments a few keywords. What do you think creative expression is all about before we give you our understanding?
In the chat.
In the chat.
Maybe, in the chat.
Yes, so something that comes to your mind, you know, 1 or 2 words.
So anything that comes to your mind when you think about creativity, creative expression. What is it about you think?
Okay,
to you personally?
So Bina says it's about releasing of emotions and feelings.
Yeah, Deepshika says expressing oneself. Expression
Great.
of oneself, Bina Hibani. Right.
Perfect. Exciting. Yes, great, great. Thank you. So to give you more hints and to take your, to show you a little bit more, let us share another slide. These photographs, as you can see, give you some hints about creativity. Because mostly what happens at schools in early years is that the focus is very often towards arts and crafts, which is great, but it's not the only thing.
Well,
yes?
this is like an automatic connotation to many people that creativity is mainly about arts and crafts, and which is also about arts and crafts, but today we just want to highlight that it's not only about arts and crafts. It can be, but not necessarily only about this. So that's the main kind of
so some of you mentioned that it's about releasing emotions, expressing oneself.
Expressing yourself.
As you can see in the photographs, look at the girl with the carrots. She's pretending that she's maybe a rabbit, an animal, engaging in some kind of creative role play expression. So it's one aspect of creative development, yes. Then we have a boy trying to use a rocker in a non-conventional way, yes.
Yeah.
He's
to slide on a dune.
So it's
on the sand.
It's in this case we have use a physical body, but also, you know, creative process, how to use a device, something, an object.
If you just imagine this, must have been really creative for him to come up with such an idea to slide on a dune, on a rocker, which usually is, you know, used in a more conventional way. Now it's, you know, it's used as a slide, a sledge rather than a rocker.
Then we have at the bottom, left bottom, we have a child who must have used the entire collection of beads and create an outfit, yes? You can see he or she is, well, this one is actually, as far as I remember, it's our son. It's a picture of our son.
Yeah, from the nursery.
So I remember he used the entire collection of beads and bracelets, and this is his way of expressing himself in this particular moment, to create an outfit, yes? And finally, we have a boy trying to build something, yes, construct something out of blocks, and then use the crane to do something, maybe demolish something, yes. So you can see other ways of creative development, which is more about expressing yourself, yes, in many variety of ways, thinking outside of the box, thinking how to use your body, how to use objects that you find around you, to innovate, yes, and many tools can be useful to do this. So it's
self-expression.
Self-expression,
you know, the art of expressing yourself in a creative way. And this creative way has no limits. To us as human beings, there are no limits for creativity. And hence this slide, just to give a hint that it can be about arts and crafts, but not only. Okay.
So let's.
Yes. So we know that creative learning is important. Why? I mean, generally you are saying that, of course, it is important, but how is it connected with future-oriented education? You know,
right.
How can we connect creative learning and future-oriented education? Because now education is taking a different turn. It's not about the root learning process that we were used to,
Mhm.
we used to call it parroting. And kind of, we had a lot of, we have had that conformity. We had to conform to certain things, and which actually killed our creativity to some extent. So would you want to connect this with future oriented education, the creative development of a child? So what do
It's
you
a
have to
very,
say to
very
that?
good point here. Yes, so everybody is speaking about future learning now and what it means. And creativity is one of the pillars of future learning. In fact, if you look at the image again, so in the future, in future learning, it's all about adopting, all about leadership, thinking outside the box, being able to express oneself, being able to find solutions to problems that we don't know exist yet. Yes. And if you look at the current situation, we didn't know something like that could happen. Yes. And it happened overnight, and we need to be ready. We need to react. We need to respond. We need to innovate, create, come up with creative solutions to address the problem, to move on, to continue with our lives.
Because in the past was much easier, because in the past we could have predicted what would happen in 10, 20, 50 years time. Right. Nowadays we cannot even predict what will happen next year, not to mention 10, 20, 50 years time. And this is very crucial knowledge for us to embrace and to realize that, especially with regards to future jobs, future lifestyles, that we cannot predict this. The only thing we can predict is the kind of skills and the mindsets that we will need still to have and to master.
So look what is happening right now. Educators are coming up with creative ways to take care of students. Yes, people around the world are coming up with new solutions. So creativity is at the core of this. Yes.
So here you can see self-expression, as we said, creative expression or creativity, meaning self-expression in a creative way. We have it here as part of this, mindset and skill set of the future.
Yes. So to be able to express yourself, you need to be confident who you are and how to do that. You need the body awareness. Yes, it's all connected, but creativity, innovation is related to confidence, is related to collaboration, to finding solutions to problems. And it's all about the future learning. I'm sure we all agree. Yes, it's all about all the things that we need. That's why it's a pillar of the future learning.
Yes. So, when we are talking about creativity, I have a, very an example of a child. Once the teacher said, draw something, and the child was drawing a picture, and the teacher asked, whose picture is this? The child said, it's God. And the teacher said, okay, how do you know God looks like this? She said, I just came to know that she looks like this. So, it's like that. It's children, they come up with different ideas, and I think they have a different way of viewing things. And when we get into our matchbox thinking pattern, we cannot think out of the box. We really need to think out of the box to come up with something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
out of the box. Yes.
Right. So coming to the next question, how can, now that we are in a lockdown, we are in a crisis situation and we are in a lockdown and we can't move out, how can parents stimulate this area of child development in a home learning environment? So what can parents do, to enhance?
Yes, so let's explore this. So this is actually a very exciting part. Let us show you a few examples. The most important thing is that to keep it creative and as less structures as possible. If you look at these three examples, again, we use some pictures of our son and other children. How are they connected to creative expression? In the first example, you can see a child pouring some paint into a plastic bottle. So
in this case, it's full of water.
It's not about painting a picture here, or it's not about creating something specific. It's about mixing, stirring, being in the process, seeing what is going to come up, what is going to happen, the creative use of materials. In the process of doing this, the child discovers so many things, and they start to verbalize, they start to tell stories. It can lead to creative storytelling, role play, communication, interaction. So this is an example of very simple situation that can be recreated at home with very simple materials, whether indoors or outdoors. It doesn't have to be a water and paint. It can be other materials.
Yeah, it could be sand instead of water. Could be sand, or could be small pebbles. You know, so that anything that can be mixed up to see, basically to see what happens, not to achieve anything, just to be in the process of creative expression,
creating something, yes.
Creating something in the process of creation, and then see what happens, and everything that happens is perfect. That's the kind of
mindset that child have, yes. So you can have a dedicated corner to allow children experiment. You can organize it in a house or outdoors in the garden or on your balcony.
Yeah,
a little corner where
this might be messy, so we need to make sure that the corner is
use whatever you have and let children
appropriate.
Yes, and let children access the corners on a regular basis. Bring some everyday toys and objects to the corner to see what happens. Being in the process of discovering. So then we have another example of creative expression. As you can see, there is some fixed structure.
Yeah, this is I think more connected to bodily kinesthetic kind of expression,
but also to creative problem solving.
Yes, and yeah.
So it's about constructing something a little bit bigger than maybe a tower using blocks. It's using it can be chair. You can use chair. You can use cushions, pillows. You can use cardboard boxes, to bigger objects to allow children to construct something, something that they can be proud of. And in the process of doing that, they will need to observe the world around them, the property of materials and how they can use creatively. If it's outdoors, they will need to respond to the weather and see, okay, if the wind is strong, how does this affect my creation, my build, my hideaway? So children are in the process of designing, redecorating. It can be a hiding den, it can be a tower. And then again, we have a role play element.
Yeah, so it's like truly multi-dimensional and cross-curricular learning, actually.
Yeah, it's about designing, about constructing, about adding this collaboration. If there's more than one communication, child. Yes.
There will be problems and issues and challenges which they have to face and solve.
Creatively, yes.
So creatively, right.
Finally, another example, here it's more about the physical expression and using the body. What happens here is, again, our son with a collection of small beanbags. He decided to put it on his head to see what is going to happen, yes? So he was creative. Instead of using it in a conventional way, maybe, he wanted to check it out. What's going to happen if I do this? Yeah. What is going to happen if I move my body to the left, to the right? Yeah.
How many how many of them can I put on my head without falling, down and off?
So it's about using body as a vehicle for creative expression. It is very important because it's about posing. It's about, if you add some music, then you will have rhythm. You will have body in awkward positions. You will have children role-playing, pretending there are somebody, yes? So there's all kinds of things that the body can do. A body as a vehicle, as a vessel for creative expression. You can use pillows, you can use fabrics, you can use little objects that are around the house. Let children be engaged in the process, in the flow, without you controlling the process, really. Let them be. Let them let them use the objects to make sure they are safe. There are no sharp objects, maybe glass or something like that.
And also very important, I think, without trying to achieve any specific results as well, but rather letting children stay in the process of creation and expressing themselves creatively, and just observe what happens and then adjust and respond.
Yeah, so you can see there are just a few ways of involving multidimensional creativity with body, with objects, with bigger construction, yes, with language, communication. If you add music, all kinds of everyday object is going to be great. And at home, you don't need to control the process, which releases, the kind of pressure on parents, yes, because you can go about your things and children will engage in those little corners of creativity. And this is exactly what we share in our trainings with parents, yes, how to support this kind of learning at home, what you can do, how further you can go. So as our gift to you, to your audience, to you today, we are happy to share with you the free training module about home learning, which you can access with the link we are going to share. It's complimentary, and you will be able to explore much more of practical advice.
So maybe we'll share the link towards the end of the webinar today, so that you can take advantage of this free material. And now let's continue.
Okay, so that was wonderful, and I think that is what is all creativity is about. Doing the best, taking out, mixing things, doing whatever you want to do, and creating something at the end of it, right? So here, when we are saying creating something, let me come to Sonia. So Sonia, what are some practical suggestions that you can give parents and educators to keep children occupied at this time?
So, first of all, thanks, Magdalena and Witold. I thought that was, you managed to put so much into such a clear little capsule for everybody.
Thank you.
But I know that really, I mean, with each of those, I know that we could have opened many, many Pandora's boxes for everybody. So I think what we're all dealing with right now, especially with the lockdown, is handling children's energy and their enthusiasm and their need to just let it all out, to handle that in enclosed spaces, to handle that at home, and at the same time manage your own time and manage your own work and the additional work, obviously, for those of us who are used to having some supports and some help, and we're not getting that now. So how do you keep their enthusiasm going? How do you keep them engaged? You want to keep them entertained, but more importantly, you want to have them engaged. You want them involved in what they're doing. And we tend very often to tell them what to do, whereas actually we need to involve them in whatever they plan to do. Give them that freedom to plan. So I'm going to suggest 5 M's to you, the letter M. So the first one that I'm going to suggest is that you need to manage. Many of us as teachers and as parents are already great managers, and I'm guessing there's a lot of women out there also. We're great managers. We learn to very efficiently orchestrate our day. When we're in school, a lot of it gets managed for us. The bell rings for us. But if you can bring that skill into the house and create a routine, children like to know that there is predictability. They like to know that there's a schedule. So whatever works for you, go with your rhythm, go with what works in your home. But create a routine for them. Let them know and involve them. Get them involved in that decision. It's not yours to make. Get them involved. What is it they want to do through the day? And help them to create that time and space for it. So one is to just be realistic, be creative, and create that rhythm for them. And then are the 3 magic M's. Find ways to help them move. They need to move. Okay, we talked about predictability. We talked about their needing to be purposeful. We heard about their needing to strategize, about their needing to plan for themselves. So involve that. Let them get involved in maybe jumping in place. You are utilizing that body movement. You're helping them to form, to get their body control, but you're also in a small space helping them to form activities that they can do. So maybe they count a certain number of times and they jump. How many times can I jump in 1 minute? They love checking that one out. And how many times more can I jump in a minute? So if I manage to jump maybe 50 times, can I jump 55 the next time? They love doing things like that. Maybe you could set up a very small, simple obstacle race for them at home. Maybe not a race, just an obstacle sort of set up for them. So you're involving language, you're involving communication. You could involve a little bit of numeracy in that. Maybe you have them going over things, across things, under things. So you've got your language coming in. This is a great opportunity for communication. It's a great opportunity for you to form your bonds with them. You've got them with you all the time. Let's value that fabulous time. We look forward to holidays and then within a week we're like, okay, enough. But think about it. This is your gift. You've been given time with your children and you can actually make magic out of it. So of course, involve them in some of the work you're doing at home, involve them in little simple things like setting up the table and things like that. Also, maybe they could do something simple like how many footsteps are there between the kitchen and the bedroom. Compare that when my father walks or when an adult walks and I walk, why is there a difference? Let them figure it out. You know, we have a very bad habit of giving them answers. Let's not do that. Let them figure it out. So let them have that problem to solve. Prompt, probe, don't answer it. The other thing that I was coming to was about just communication and meeting. So that's my third M. This is such a great time for us to meet as families, to meet each other, give each other time, also to meet the larger family, to meet our friends. So create that time for them. I know you can't physically go out and meet them, but hello, look at the screen. We're all meeting. We're almost 100 of us meeting today. So you can do that, set up those for them, and they're all so tech savvy. So give them that opportunity to do that, and it'll help them. It'll help them to form those relationships. You might, with younger children, need to help them to, think about what do we talk about today. And as each of their relationships form, they're going to have lots to say. So it's a great time to build that up for them. And of course, as Magdalena and Vitold said, that we tend to think about creativity as art and we tend to think of it as craft, but let's think of it as making things. Why is it only art and craft? Think of it as making things. Let them figure things out. Let them make things. They need that sensory and that tactile experience to actually solve a problem. And the problem isn't a problem. It's something that they're thinking about. Just like that beautiful slide of their son who was playing with the beanbags and trying to figure out what would happen and that whole story behind it. Put one on his head, put two on his head, put three on his head, turn his head. Don't you see children doing that? The moment they see a line, they try and walk, they try and balance. And then they try to see if I run on it, what will happen. I still do it. The moment I see those little edges, I don't know about you, I still do it. And I will show you a few simple things that you can use at home. Right now we can't buy stuff, right? But if you've got paper packets, you can make little puppets with them, where they just put their hand in and now they can use it. This one has been done on both sides. And the moment they have a puppet, they will talk. So encourage them to talk. Let them talk, let them create their own stories. And interesting things will come out of the stories. You'll find they've been observing things that you didn't know they were observing. They've been thinking about things that you didn't know they were thinking about. So they will start. Here I've got lots of little puppets because I recently did a session with young children. And so I kept making puppets for them. So there are a lot of puppets. But it's not just puppets. They love to draw. How about suggesting, giving them a few limitations? That you draw what you want, but let's try to color only using dots. So you can use big dots, you can use small dots. Then let's see how many dots do we need depending on the age of your child. You could keep adding to the questions that you're asking them. You've got maybe stones accessible. If you do, that's another great thing. It's very tactile again. It's very sensory again. And I'm developing such a love for my stone. So before I show you what I've drawn on it, I find myself first just holding the stone and feeling it and, you know, really enjoying its texture, its weight. And sometimes you get stones that look about the same size and yet their weight is different. So let them just play with things like this. And then of course, if they've got the kind of paints that they can paint on their stones as well. And hello, they can start telling stories again with these. Because then you just pick up randomly and you could just create an interesting story out of this. So it shouldn't just be something that they do to keep them occupied, but something that engages their brains, engages their bodies, engages their minds, and definitely involves them in communication and language. Literacy will come. Literacy will come, literacy will be taught, and the schools, in any case, at least in India, and I'm sure all over now, there's so much happening through the schools. Literacy will come, opportunities to use the language and actually use it. You're not just communicating, are you? You're not just saying, I want, or how are you? You're negotiating. You're forming relationships. You're doing so much with language. So let's give them those opportunities today when they don't have those 6 or 8 hours in school, when they can do things using that language, using life skills that they really need. All the strategizing and the planning and the thinking ahead and the estimating, let them do that. Here are just a couple of other fun things. I had ice cream sticks at home. So I made bookmarks. Here's again another little puppet. You can see I'm quite smitten by puppets because I find puppets give you opportunities to communicate, and there's just so much. So these are all little bookmarks that I made with my little spoons. And if you don't have that, that's okay. If you just have scrap paper, you can make it into so many things. You can make it into collages. Just tearing, crushing, forming balls. You can take a whole sheet of newspaper and how small can you make it go? And that whole feeling, and look at what you're doing for their muscles. So yes, some of what I'm talking about is for younger children, but older children are easier in many ways to contain. It's the younger ones. And so that's why I think maybe I'm thinking more on that. The other thing is when you're working in the kitchen and you also have to manage your child. Why can't they play with atta while you make the rotis? Why can't they knead dough? Why can't they sort out a little bit of dal for you? Mix 2 or 3 grains. It's a game, pretend, oh, it got mixed up. Will you help me? I need to separate it. And can you imagine what you've done for them, that focus? And yet, never underestimate a child. Never underestimate a child. Set it up, make it a game, make it a problem, let them solve it. Let them find their own way of working through it. And trust me, they are brilliant. They will find their own answers. It doesn't have to be the answer you wanted. Remember that too. That's the great thing with having them at home. It's not 2 plus 2 makes 4. 2 plus 2 could make anything. Just let them have fun with it. So the other, to move on with my M's, the other thing that you've got in your hands and your hearts right now is memories. So yes, go through your albums if you have the time and pull out old photographs and talk about them and recount stories and all that. But how about creating memories? You're never going to get this time of well, it's endless, right? We don't know. We don't know whether it's a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. When will you get this packaged, capsuled time again as a family, sitting with your children and being able to communicate with them, really forming a relationship with them? So this is the time to make memories. And I'm sure the teachers who are tuned in today are picking up a lot of tips from this. Encourage them to keep a lockdown diary. It could be a collage, a page that they could make a collage on. It could be a drawing. It could be something they found, maybe a leaf, and they stuck it down. But encourage them to make scrapbooks. And how about the games you played when you were little? We never had devices. A lot of what Magdalena and we talked about, that you can use chairs and you can use the dining table. Didn't you do that? I remember taking the dining table chairs and making a train out of it, putting a sheet and making that our tent. We live in this horrible hot land called India. I mean, I love India. I just find the weather sometimes a bit challenging. And there were days on end when we couldn't move out till it was too late to go down. So we found things to do at home. Teach them carom, teach them Ludo. There are so many things. If you don't have it at home, make it. It's so easy to make a little Ludo for them to play on. Involve them. Get them involved in making that Ludo board. Show them what it looks like. And then get them involved in making it. And you can use buttons and you can play Ludo, right? So you could have a lot of fun. So here are your 5 M's. Manage, move, meet, make, memories, and here's the most important M, me. Don't forget yourself. Make sure you get some sacrosanct time that is me time. You need to nourish yourself too. So even if it's late at night, I was up at some odd hour of the night painting last night because that's the time that's mine. Or when my children were really little, they knew that in the afternoon they could be in the room, they could be on my bed, but it was silence zone. So I did my own thing. I might have read a book or whatever. They were with me because they were too little to be anywhere else. They were with me, but they did their own thing. And then, of course, we all napped. So, yeah, I think that's largely what I wanted to share with you today.
That was so wonderful, Sonia. I think all the attendees, educators, and parents have benefited from what you had to say, because it's really effective. And now that we are inside and we have to do make do of whatever we have with us,
Absolutely.
develop our creativity, stay motivated, stay enthusiastic. That
That's
is what
another
we
M.
need to do.
See? Motivation.
Yeah, and motivation. And we always need to encourage children to enhance their creativity, do something new, not, like we already said, not stick to what is already very conventional. So they can come up with a lot of things, and you added a lot of ideas. Thanks a lot, Magdalena and Vitol, for your lovely the briefing on the entire thing in a small capsule, which is a huge thing in a small capsule. And we really, I think, all the attendees must have benefited. And so I think we are almost there. We have a 4 minute left. So if any questions come up, we are ready to take. And in the meanwhile, if somebody's typing out a question or anything, I would want to announce our next webinar, which is on 25th of this month, which is the Saturday, which is the coming Saturday. And the topic is helping your child develop a lifelong love of reading. And we will have with us as speakers Rashmi Narzari, Sahitya Academy Awardee for English Children Literature 2016 for her book, His Share of Sky. And she's always also a skill consultant and creative writing mentor, columnist and freelance author. We will also have with us Usha Venkataraman, an award-winning international performer, storyteller, educationist and classical vocalist from Mumbai. Her puppetry skills make her tales very fascinating, and she's the creative director of Mumbai Storytellers Society. And we will have with us Bookbell Publishing, and we will have the CEO Abhijit Goswami and their head Bedabrata Kalita with us. And yes, so you can all log in for the Saturday session with us. And in the meanwhile, can we see any questions coming in?
Yes, I can see there are
two questions in the Q&A section.
Yes, right. Right. So who would want to take those? Let me just, I just can't see the questions.
What to expect from my 3-year-old and what should I do to improve his creativity?
I think it's linked with the second one as well.
Yes.
Very, very closely. Yeah. How to keep the children busy in a creative and also, I would say, educational way.
Continuously.
And continuously.
So I think that the point here in the question is very important, because we can have many creative activities and try to recreate them, but sooner or later children may get bored. Or so the another way at looking at that is to keep it open and as play and learning corners, play and learning stations, creative spots around the house and garden if you have an outdoor space. So instead of you coming up with specific activities organized at a table or somewhere and inviting children to do them with you or alone, think about workshops style kind of space, yes? That will be an open space that your child can attend to and use on an ongoing basis. And trust me, they will do it. Because if you open a corner and fill it with some maybe buttons, some stones, some bits and bobs that you have around the house, and add some glue or add some beanbags, whatever you have, following their examples that we showed and also that were shown together in the webinar. So the children will take ownership of their learning and they will decide about the learning process on their own without you having to engage them on the time. So this is the answer. Yes, they will move from one station to another.
Yeah. Because the point is to have as many such stations and corners as you can actually, as you can create or as you can come up with, not only one. So that they can just, wander around and change from one place to another one. Like this one is exhausted, I'm bored with this. Okay, what should I do? Okay, let's go to that corner, to that station and see if there is anything new that mommy and daddy put in overnight.
For smaller children, but if there are older children, let them do it with you. Let them design the learning stations with you for themselves. We use this kind of working both with teachers in the early years provisions and with our homeschooled son around the house. We always have lots of different learning stations around our house. Our son is 30. We've been working like that throughout his whole life. And we have, at the moment, we have a mosaic making station, where we have a painting station, we have a body movement station, and
puzzles.
There is a rotational thing. You add things, but you can have just an arts and craft corner, a creative station, construction workstation. So with blocks and construction materials, pillows, cushions, everything. Make it rotational, add things together with your children, plan it together with your children, involve them, engage them in the process. And
especially with older ones.
They will be busy. They will be busy on an ongoing way, yes?
And this busyness is not only, keeping them busy, but this is what we are actually doing right now together as educators. We are validating these things we are talking about and giving parents permission or even a guarantee that what we are talking about right now is educational and it's valid from educational point of view, and it will bring educational and learning outcomes long term. It's not just, play and filling the free time with anything, something. This is something I think that also a lot of parents and carers need, especially nowadays during these challenging times, that this is not just doing anything and anything goes. It's fully educational, it's valid. You have the permission to do it from us, from all of us as educators here in this webinar, that that's guaranteed. It will bring learning outcomes.
It may take some time on your half.
Absolutely.
To notice the learning takeaways, but it's a different story, yes?
Yeah. Absolutely. There's a lot of learning, there's a lot of socio-emotional development, there's a lot of bonding, there's a lot of role play, there's a lot of creativity everything involved, right?
Yes,
And
And
absolutely.
so I think
cross-curricular learning that you may think in terms of science, in terms of biology, geography, all kinds of
right,
things will be there,
absolutely.
because even the stone, you can think about where it comes from, what part of the world it comes from. You know, was it found underwater, on the beach? What kind of rock was that? So it's all, you see, science, biology, it's all related. It's all language, specific language that is used for the purpose of science. So there's lots of things involved.
Right. So, well, I think we are exceeding our time now. It's like 4:50 almost. So it was lovely having you all. And thanks to all the attendees. And we are looking forward to meeting you in our next webinar on Saturday at 4 p.m. As we always have this 4 p.m. time. And then we are coming up with few more with Vitol Magdalena. And maybe we'll have one on social-emotional learning, development of children from the early years. Thank you so much, Sonia.
Thank
And it
you.
was a pleasure having you all here. And bye-bye. Dr. Vasavi
Thank you.
Acharya
Thank you very
signing
much.
off. Yeah,
Thank
bye-bye.
you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.